Well, Matt, I guess it's patriotic to resign yourself to only American-made video games. Sticking with it. It's gonna cut out a lot of titles for you, but you gotta stick with your beliefs, and it's. I guess you're gonna have to give up a few games. I guess you can't play any more Arc Raiders. That's not really American-made anymore. So
Why am I doing this?
Well, because of the massive tariffs that are about to hit the digital goods industry.
Oh, is that happening?
Did you hear about the movie tariffs? That was the
No.
latest thing coming out of the administration, where they said that they want to put 100% tariff on all movies that are not made inside of the United States. And yeah, people are going, hang on a second. And like, is this going to turn into a video game thing? Is it going to turn into, because movies are just a form of art, right? So
Right.
you could lump it in with video games, literature, anything made outside of this country that's a digital consumable medium. I never really thought too much about digital goods, but that could be wild, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Fair enough.
Yeah. But anyway, your stance on it, I can appreciate it. They're going to have the video games are going to be like made in America. I don't think many games themselves are like 100% made in America. And I would assume the film industry is similar, where it's like, yeah, a bunch of stuff was done here, but since everything's digital now, it's not like people are handing off reels of film to somebody and they're like, you edit this. It's like, it's a file. You put it on a server. Anybody anywhere can edit it down for you. You don't have to be in the same room, be like, oh, make that sound better or something.
It's almost as if it's a globalized economy where people all over the world can contribute. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm just like, fingers crossed. Hopefully the digital video games don't get hit next. But
well, we kind of did, because I did hear about Xbox increasing their prices.
Yeah, by like $100, pretty much.
Yeah, which is like unheard of, and I don't know why. Did they ever explain why they're increasing prices other than
tariffs?
Oh, did they say it was tariffs? Okay, well,
I don't know. Cool. I don't know if that's specifically what they said, but I think it's more or less assumed at this point, because along with Xbox increasing their prices for both their consoles, their various tiers of the Xbox, the controller prices, I believe, are also going up. Peripheral prices are going up. That
has to be tariffs then, because
100%. And then there's a bunch of other hardware manufacturers that are pulling their products from sale in the US. 8-Bit Do, I don't know if you've heard of them. They make some pretty good controllers that have gotten really popular, where you're like, I don't want to buy an Xbox controller and plug it into my PC. They make like a really good alternative. They make some cool retro keyboards. They've been super popular. They announced that they're not going to be shipping to the States. Bunch of PC case manufacturers did this like interview with Gamers Nexus, and they're like, look, our margins are like super small to begin with on like a PC case. Yeah, because you buy a case sometimes for like $40 and you're like, how do they even make money on this? Like it's
the parts alone, right?
Yeah, so their margins are super slim. So we're just starting to hear about the companies that are like getting ahead of it and be like, yeah, we gotta stop shipping. Sorry guys. I'm sure there's more to come, but the movie thing freaks me out a bit, because I'm like, okay, I understand physical cartridge sales, hitting tariffs and stuff, but like digital, I don't know, man. It's getting pretty wild now. And then on top of that, I guess it's like if the studio's based in the US, but then because so many studios here outsource their work to like India or South America or wherever, because there's a lot of work talent in those countries that can do a lot of the computer graphics and video editing and game development and all that stuff. So there's a lot of companies that are just like working with people in other countries. So I guess the tariffs wouldn't hit the digital products if the company is based in the States, but then it's outsourcing its labor to other countries. There's just so many businesses that operate that way. It seems like if they were going to try and I was reading an article about this saying that basically the complexity of trying to enforce digital tariffs on digital goods is like, it just gets so complicated, and there's so many edge cases, and the legislation around it would just, they think they're not going to be able to actually do it because of how complicated it would be.
Well, this is so far on my wheelhouse. I'm just going to have to take your word on it, because
I mean, I'm just saying what I've been reading. So I don't know, like none of this is in play at the moment. It was just hey, we want to do this, or we're thinking about doing this, and which is great policy making, in my opinion, is to freak everybody out with an idea and watch the global markets react to like, is this going to happen or not? Make big business decisions now.
Yep.
I know what you've been playing this week, Matt, because I've been playing some of it. Oh, that's it. My Little Pony Island Adventure.
The greatest game of all time. That and Arc Raiders.
Yes, those two games. 50-50. I've been playing a bunch of that with you as well. I can't stay away from it, man. I get a little pocket of time, and I'm like, let's do some solo drops, man.
Just a couple Arc Raiders, yeah.
It's I made a video on it today, and I spent some time kind of thinking about why it appeals to me so much, and I kind of came to the conclusion, like, I like other extraction shooters, but sort of like from the sidelines. None of them have like really sucked me into their gameplay loop. And I think it's because they're so reliant on PvP to be fun.
Okay.
And like, that is kind of the point of them, where you go in, you're supposed to fight other players and maybe get some good loot and then get out. And Ark, because it was developed originally as a PvE game, they pivoted actually to having it become a PvP and PvE. It's got such a good foundation of world building and enemy AI that are like fun and interesting to fight against, and great sound design. Is like, it's actually just fun to play the game even when you're not fighting other players. And
it's fun just existing in the world that they created.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it feels like you're really scavenging. There we go.
Scavenging.
That word. One of those.
We got
things.
it. We got there eventually.
Yeah. I'm like a thesaurus. I just don't.
You really are.
I don't hit the word that I'm actually looking for. It's just fun going through the landscape and collecting your little bits of loot. And I found myself enjoying rounds where like, oh, I got the lemons I wanted, or the apricots, or the little items I was looking for, and then there'd be like a player running by, and I'm like, do I need to like engage this guy and risk it? And go, I'm just going to go for the extraction and get out. And like actually enjoying that round, where before I think a lot of other games are like, yeah, you got to go in and shoot other players. And if you don't, you're not doing it right. And Ark kind of gives you the option to not do it and still have fun. And I think that's going to go a long way. And once people figure out that they can play the game a little bit more stealthily if they want to and actually have fun, I think it's going to attract like a new audience.
I think this is a really good example of showcasing that the concept of extraction shooters is, played out for a lot of people. They're like, oh, I don't want another extraction shooter. But it's because a lot of these extraction shooters haven't been made very well. Yeah. And this also shows that a game is more than the sum of its parts, if that makes any sense. Because when you look at like it individually, it's just an extraction shooter. You go in, there's AI you can take out, you get their loot, and you extract, right? Like, it's been there. Tarkov's been here forever. But what it does so well is every little aspect of it, from the sound design to the world itself, to the AI, to just the gunplay and the PvP and the way that you're able to interact with other players, is just done in a way that fits the world and it immerses you into it, and it just makes it a better experience. Like, those small little things all add up to a much more polished game than I think a lot of people were originally expecting when they went into this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the progression. The progression counts for a lot for me. Building up your
Hmm.
skill tree, leveling up your workbenches or whatever. Like, even though I don't like the UI around that, I
Yeah.
compare it to something like Hunt Showdown, where I do like the world that they've created in Hunt Showdown, but the progression outside of a match feels pretty lackluster in a lot of ways
There's very
comparatively.
little of that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can be progressing your character that you have, and then when that character dies, that's usually what kind of makes me kick off of Hunt Showdown. I'm like, you know what, that was a good run. I just lost my really good character with all the good weapons and stuff, and I don't feel like trying to, like, I feel like I don't have any much left over from all those rounds that I played. Where Arc Raiders, yeah, I can lose a pretty good loadout or something like that, but you have your little safety pockets, and you also have XP that you've been getting from playing that's leveling up a skill tree. You've been extracting with tons of craftable stuff. You got blueprints that can now unlock new builds for you that you can make relatively cheaply. So if you want to get back in, you're like, oh, I got a blue extended mag. So now I can craft a pretty decent gun for not too much money or not too much parts. And so it's got a fun progression system outside of the rounds. And that helps ease the pain of getting ganked really bad sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to have those gank moments in an extraction shooter where you're just like, all right, looks clear, go for the extraction elevator. And then some dude pops out of a bush with a shotgun, and you're like, dang it. Well, there goes,
For sure.
15 minutes of gameplay. But it's got more connective tissue from round to round, and that counts for a lot.
I think it was clear. I mean, we only really can base it off of right now, like Twitch and what streamers were playing. There wasn't a lot of people that were invited, unfortunately. I think they let more people in by the last couple of days, because it went from like around 10,000 people playing on Steam to I think like 21,000 was where they kind of peaked, which is a lot, which is good, but
Yeah.
it's not like what you would assume like a huge game would be. But it was just a play test. It was a small play test, and it seems like everyone was kind of chomping at the bit, because a lot of big streamers were playing it regularly, and they were playing it throughout the entire playtest. And I think it's because it's got something. I think it actually does have something spicy that people are enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard to put down into like exactly what.
Again, I think it comes down to like a lot of the clips that streamers were putting out weren't like, look how awesome we ganked these guys. It was like, oh, I jumped onto the back of one of those big flying robots and was like hitting it with my melee weapon and stuff. And they're showing off all these crazy things that you can do with the AI in the environment, and like how crazy it is to fight some of these. Those were the coolest clips. Like I saw some clips that just blew up on social media, and it was like seeing one of those bison spider robots leap like 300 meters up onto a cliff and like get a guy, and he's just like, what is happening? They've got the AI in the game just go so much further than you would expect AI to go in any other game, where you've got the queen lobbing artillery at us from like a kilometer away, and you've got like these jumpy spider robots that can jump at you from hundreds of meters, and so you're like, I don't expect that from another game. But all of a sudden Ark you're playing, and all like you just kind of have to throw some of those typical AI rules out the window.
It gets weirdly cinematic out of nowhere. I had moments where I was running for cover, and then because I was getting locked on by the Rocketeer, and I look up, or someone else was, and I just see rockets fly by my face and hitting the person in front of me, and I'm just ducking for cover, and it's like it is very cinematic at times. It's also like I said, just the attention to detail. Did you know that you can literally grab onto a ledge and then jump over to another ledge adjacent to you?
No, that's awesome.
It's little stuff like that where I'm like, it's a little janky at times, but it almost, Assassin's Creed, they kind of have to do it, and they just kind of have to, it just kind of has to guess where you want to go. Well, this is like, no, it'll just let you jump, and then if there's a ledge there, you just grab onto it like you would expect to, and it just, to quote the legendary Todd Howard, it just works.
Yeah, their mantling mechanics in this are incredibly under kind of praised, or like even known about. I didn't realize how good the mantling was until I fell off of a zip line and grabbed onto a ledge as I was falling and then like pulled myself up. I'm like, whoa, they built like a really robust mantle system.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it doesn't, the game doesn't like over advertise it. It just happens. And then you're like, oh, wow. Because normally in a game that's built for mantling, it's like Assassin's Creed where you're like, there's a ledge and there's a ledge and there's a ledge and there's a little yellow paint on the thing that I'm supposed to grab onto and blah, blah, blah. And it's all very much built to show you that you can grab and jump up and climb these drain pipes or whatever to get to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And Ark doesn't like hit you over the head with the fact that you can do that. And all of a sudden you start realizing that you can mantle on a lot of things. And you're like, oh, wow, this is like really well thought out. And they don't even advertise it. And I really liked moments where I think when we were playing, we're sliding down some like really long slope. The sliding mechanics in the game are fun. And you find yourself sort of like mantling and kind of scurrying up little pipes and then sliding down things. And you're trying to get across the terrain as quickly and stealthily as possible. And it just like synergizes really well with all of the animation and the movement. It's kind of like a movement game, but not in the traditional sense of what a movement shooter is, if that makes any sense.
You're not like slide canceling and trying to like jump off of walls to make yourself a harder target. You're literally just moving around and traversing like you would expect to, but keeping it within the realms of reality.
Yeah, and it just looks really natural and really cool and fits in with this like idea and environment that we are trying to scavenge for supplies on the surface of this apocalyptic wasteland. Did you find out, like, they kind of give you more bits and pieces of info throughout the mission systems that you do about, like, maybe what's happening, but...
I wasn't paying too close attention to that, no.
Yeah, I didn't get any good concrete info out of it to get a good backstory, but I am very much intrigued by the world because the robots are crazy, and you're just like, what in the world happened? Like, this is insane. And then if you stay around too long, these massive, like... I don't even know what lands. There's just these massive missiles or rockets or something that like hit the ground.
I had a friend who said that they stayed over the time limit and like just an unbelievable amount of robots showed up.
Yeah.
So either it just kills you. Some people are saying like a nuke shows up and it just wipes everything out, or maybe it was a glitch and like the lobby just didn't end for some reason. But they said like there was just a ton of robots and they couldn't survive it. So.
That's what I saw.
Which is kind of the impression that I got, right? Because like a huge, like you see stuff landing out in the distance and you're like, what is that? And it would make sense, like all of a sudden just, you get completely swarmed by robots because that's the whole theme of the game.
Yeah.
Right, is they've taken over the land. Yeah.
And so Ark sees that there's extra human activity in this area. And they're like, yeah, just send 1,000 robots over and clean them up. And what I like about the game is, I mean, gosh, the AI is so competent. The small guys are supposed to be easy to beat, but if you screw up killing a small guy, they can easily alert more robots to come in. They can alert other players. Like each robot has its purpose to an extent. And then it doesn't take many before you're like, we're overwhelmed. We got to get the heck out of here. Like this is getting way too hard. And then you throw a big one in. What's the big minigun spider tank guy?
The Bastion?
The Bastion. I mean, if he gets a whiff of you, you're just like, oh, God. Yeah. I like the reaction time on them, too. Most games would go for, like, these slow things where it gives you a big old preamble to, like, when a big baddie's about to hit you. The Bastion sees you, and bullets are flying your way within seconds,
What's incredible, and this is true for pretty much every one of the robots, is that they all react to when you take out parts of their structure. Mm-hmm. So the Bastion has these like joints, and if you shoot off the joint, the arm or the leg falls off, and so they've got like 8 legs.
Yeah.
And if you shoot them, it will then start to like it'll start to crawl, like it only has 7 legs now, and then you take out the entire like side of it, and by the end it's just sitting there trying to like move around, and you almost feel bad, right? Like like damn, while it's trying to minigun you, but it's pretty incredible to see that kind of detail and animation, and it permeates throughout all of them, right? Like you shoot there's just the wasps, the standard ones. You shoot one of them, and it just teeters around trying to reorient because now only has 3 fans keeping it up, And that's true. So it's God, the attention to detail on the AI, and it's probably because the game was originally going to be a looter shooter, but still,
Yeah.
well used of resources.
Yeah. It's just kind of this magical combo. Now, all that said, game has got a few little. What did you think about some of the PvP meta? I noticed shotguns showing up a lot more towards the end of the playtest, and I think players started to figure out that like all you really got to do is close the distance to somebody with a shotgun, and you're like,
The
I
volcano
win.
was probably the best gun in the game. Yeah, it was very powerful. The green shotgun, the Toro, I can't remember what it's called, was also really powerful.
Yeah,
That was
very good.
the green one. Yeah. So, but you're not wrong. They're definitely strong.
Yeah. I like that the third person prevented a lot of head-on assaults. Like teams really had to flank you and sort of get behind you. And if you had a corridor or an open field, pushing straight towards somebody was like suicide. You had to either throw down a bunch of smokes or come up with some super long flank and they could watch you. So it gave like it kind of slowed down the thirsty players, you know, from getting out there and just like murking everybody instantly. Like you had to actually flank. And I thought that was a nice change of pace and a very different feeling from a game like, say, Hunt Showdown, where, you know, you peek out a crack or something and some dude like laser beams you with a rifle and then you don't peek it again and you don't know where they went. And they could be pushing directly at you. They could be getting above. And then all of a sudden you get shot and you're very confused about what's happening sometimes. I felt like third person worked really well in this to keep you a little more appraised of what's going on around you and slowing down some of the more aggressive players from just cleaning up an entire map.
I saw a decent amount of discussion online where people were like really disappointed that the game isn't going to have a first person mode. And I kind of get it because I also prefer first person, but I think that the entire game is designed around third person in a really good way. There is the peaking, right? I had someone the other day talk about, well, if it's not trying to be a competitive shooter, then third person is fine. I'm like, competitive shooter? It's a looter shooter, like or extraction shooter. Like it's not going to be an esports. Like it's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're right in that sense, right? Like not everything needs to be hyper competitive shooter in that respect. But anyways, if they did want to take it into first person, then they've got to change the movement mechanics.
Yeah.
When you're in third person, it doesn't feel as bad when your character takes some time to like shift left and right when they're moving around, because you actually physically see the character moving. But if you are in first person and there's that slow clunk, right, of that momentum, it feels really bad when you're in first person, right? You're like, I'm not in control over my character. What's going on? This feels awful. And that's because of the third person perspective, right? And that means that when you're actually having firefights with someone, if they did try to make it so that it was more responsive in first person, all of a sudden you got people jittering around and moving around like crazy and using that movement mechanic system that I get really tired of in these more competitive first person shooters, you know? So that is one thing that I really like about the third person camera. Also, even though you do need to like flank, they give you so many slots and so many relatively cheap items to be able to flush people out from cover and flank. You've got grapple hooks. There's a snapshot hook. Did you find that?
I saw a clip of it. I never got one. Where they can like snapshot up onto a drone or something. Looks
you basically
crazy.
become Batman.
Yeah.
It's super
Is that
cool.
multiple shots? One or
doesn't have it. You can use it as long as you want.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
It's really, really strong. It's very powerful.
So I had no idea they were going to have that much movement stuff. So we're sort of observing like the beginning of this game, but the movement evolution could be much further than we're even thinking about. Because a Batman style grappling hook changes up gameplay completely. And if that stuff becomes more prevalent at higher levels and lots of people have them, that could be really crazy if you're like chasing down a team and they all grapple up to a roof and they're like, bye-bye. And you're like, well, we can't follow them. They all just grappled.
It does have a certain range to it. So you can't just like yeet yourself up. I think it was like 20 meters. So there is limitations to it. But yeah, it's super potent for being able to reposition. And if they don't have it, like you said, you literally cannot chase them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the game has kind of they've built themselves a lot of freedom with what they want to, with what they can do with it, because you can find items in the world that like augment your combat abilities, whether it's a grenade or a gun or a grappling hook or a zip line or something. And they can just play with those and be like, okay, let's make something super OP, but it's not going to spawn very much. So you'll find very few of them. Or let's make something that like really changes up movement mechanics. And every now and then you'll get one of those. And I think they just have a lot that they can do with it to evolve the gameplay and like keep it fresh, with a new season. They're like, this season you get whatever, a flamethrower or something crazy. That I could see like really keeping the game fresh and interesting throughout each season. I am curious to see how seasons work. Are they going to go for the full traditional approach of wipe it every season? Is some stuff going to progress across beyond cosmetics? Like usually cosmetics stay with you, but like, are you going to keep any of your progression?
I would imagine cosmetics would stay. Yeah, it would stay.
Yeah.
I'm also curious. I think the game does benefit from the fact that like early weapons. So it's only a couple of days. That's the thing, right? Because Tarkov, people really love going back for the wipe because everyone's using the bad weapons. Like everyone's kind of scavenging for resources. It's really hard, and you kind of have those scrappy fights where you can't beam anybody because you just don't have the weapons to beam people.
Yeah,
they're not all kitted out, and that. The first couple of days is sort of like that, where people are running around with pistols or the Pharaoh, and it's just a one shot, and it takes a long time to reload that sucker, right? Like it feels more scrappy. But just after like 4 or 5 days, now everyone's starting to get like, oh, they've got these other kits. This may be a weird take. I felt like there was too much loot in the world.
Yeah. That was one of my criticisms, and I don't know if I would say it's either too much loot or not enough inventory space, but I felt like I would be in a round for like 4 minutes and be like, I've got everything I need. Like time to go. I literally had some rounds where I spawned in within 20 seconds. I hear an extraction elevator. I sprint towards the extraction elevator, catch a guy extracting, kill him, fill up, grab his loot. I'm completely full. There's no point in sticking around, so I just extract. I'm like, that was a 3-minute long round, and I have everything. And it felt like they haven't quite nailed some of the pacing with like how much loot. And I noticed we had a lot of games where we'd go in with a key, be like, let's head to this tower towards the middle of the map and get all the loot in that tower using my key. Go, cool, let's do that. Run into a couple players along the way, kill them. Oh, we're full on loot. It doesn't really make sense to go to the tower now. We kind of got everything, so let's just extract. And that happened a lot, and I feel like the game could use a little bit better of an incentive system to keep going, to staying around for longer. And maybe that's giving you more backpack space. Maybe it's reducing the amount of loot that drops.
I actually don't want necessarily more back. This might sound like this may be a hot take.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you can go into a building as a solo player and basically go to a bunch of stations, get a bunch of blue items, and then be like, okay, I'm ready to extract. It just feels a little bit too quick. Like, I don't feel like I'm having to scavenge as much. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want it to be where, oh my God, it took 5 days to find this item. I don't want it to be Tarkov like in that respect. But slowing it down a little bit. So not only does it slow down that initial, maybe a couple of days where people aren't able to get like the crazy loot within the first 24 hours, right? But also it just kind of, makes you stay in the round a little bit longer, makes you kind of have to scavenge. And then when you do find the loot, it comes a little bit more edgy, and, you're a little bit more scared because you finally got some loot and you want to extract with it.
Yeah.
That said, I do think the game does a decent job of making things tense where you don't want to lose your stuff, even if it is relatively easy to get it back. They actually have nailed that tension, which I find a lot of extraction shooters have definitely missed the mark on, and they've at least for me done phenomenal.
Yeah, it's hard to know where the right balance is, because like I always get annoyed that I can't pick up a good gun. And carry an extra gun in my inventory because it's so heavy, Right. And you're just like, cool. So I killed this guy. He's got a really good gun, but I brought in 2 really good guns, so I don't want to give those up either. So now I just leave all this great stuff on the ground that's worth a ton, or I just take one gun back with me and drop everything else I have so that I can actually move. And it is annoying, but I also know, like, if they made it easier to just pick up all the guns you found, you probably just have a huge inventory of like tons of weapons to pick from. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it means that if you play for a lot, you get a huge variety of weapons, and then you're not always just going in with your favorite shotgun every time. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll try this weird sniper rifle that's got the charge up mechanic or something like that. So maybe some ways to force more gameplay variety. I feel like once people get the blueprints that they want, they're going to be able to just build their favorite kit every time.
Oh, absolutely.
And that might start getting boring. So I hope they can maybe think about forcing some variety a little bit more. Like maybe having a vendor that gives you a freebie pack or a cheapo weapon pack. And so you go, well, I could manufacture my kit of choice, or I could get this really cheap kit that's pretty good, but it's not what I normally
Well, they do have the
run
scav
with.
runs that you can get a free
Yeah.
loadout. Yeah, so there is that.
I do like those. Those are fun. I did one where I only got the Pharaoh, and I was solo playing, you know, and I started fighting a guy, and it was such a long firefight because I'm just like hitting him and like rechambering around and hitting him again, rechambering around. He runs behind a building, heals up completely. I'm just like, God damn it. All right, here we go again.
Yeah, it really needs a secondary weapon to finish him off, especially if they close the gap on you.
Yeah. It's at first I got frustrated with some of the mechanics like weapon swap time, but then once I got the feel for the game more, I started to appreciate it a little bit. They're like, yeah, no, they want you to switch to the gun that you think you're going to need as opposed to just going
and
in.
There are weapons that are more agile. The pistol, for example, you can swap to that sucker way faster than you can if you like brought out the volcano, which was the big shotgun. So there is incentive to run more like fast kits if you want to.
Mm-hmm. I was doing a dumb thing where I was like maining Pharaoh in close quarters and then getting a shot off on somebody and then switching to my secondary. And the switch time was so long that the guy would like down most of my health by the time I got my second gun out. I was like, well, that strategy didn't work at all. But it took me a couple of rounds to figure out why I was sucking. I was like, what is going on here?
I think a lot of people made that mistake too. I was running with some other friends and they're like, why do you have your Pharaoh at? They're like, oh, because it's so much fun to get the shot off and you do a ton of damage and then you switch to your secondary. I'm like, well, yeah, you can switch to your secondary, but you might be dead at that point. So, yeah. If your secondary is your close range weapons, you got to have that sucker out, you know?
Yeah. The combat is fun. We had a firefight that was in one of the fields and we ended up engaging maybe 2 or even 3 parties. I don't know how many different parties were there, but smokes were going down. There was just like small scatterings of trees to hide behind, and we were flanking and ganking some people, and then we were getting shot at from other parties and having to dive into smoke. And it was quite fun though. And I just remember like having the perfect DMR, the semi-auto, the lever action rifle in that sequence. And it was like the perfect range for all of those engagements. And it just was clicking. And I was like, man, this is some really fun gameplay right now.
Yeah, it nails it. It really, they've done a very, very good job. How many maps do you think there's going to be at launch?
I don't know, but I found each map to be like really fun and unique. You know, like they bring a very different vibe, and gameplay. And I could see the zip line or the Batman grapple being really good on that
Buried City.
Yeah, Buried City map because it's got so many small buildings that you could probably jump up onto.
Yeah.
I hope they just keep adding maps to it. You know, like. It seems like a game where it's not like Rainbow Six where your intimate map knowledge is going to like dictate how good you are. It seems like a game where it'll help, but it's not going to like be the difference between you living or dying. It'll just mean you might not know immediately where all the bad guys spawn or all the best loot is or whatever. So they could easily saturate the game with tons and tons of maps. Like if in a year after launch, they had 10 more maps, I think it would be totally fine, you know, where you're just like, yeah, that's cool. Like, it just means I'm not playing on the same maps over and over again.
My hope is that we get 5 maps at release. Maybe that's over asking. I'm really hoping that there's like a more of a decent natural progression. Like I think Dam was my favorite, and that's like the starter map.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then
I
like I'm
agree.
hoping that they kind of progressively get harder and harder in terms of like AI, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then like maybe there's like one map that is just like rocketeers everywhere and bison and bastions, and then that's kind of like your end game where you really have to be careful.
Yeah.
Like every step is just like, but there's really good loot there, like so there's like a little bit of progression. You don't want it to be insane. I want there to be good map variety for everyone to enjoy, not just end game, but it'd be cool to have like a more traditional end game
Yeah.
map in the game when it releases.
I think it'd be cool if they did regional maps. So like the dam is a really cool region, but if they broke that into like kind of a biome style, and so then you pick the biome that you're dropping into, where you're like, this area has mechanical parts and things that I'm trying to scavenge, but you might not know specifically what map it's going to toss you into. That could be kind of like a fun way to break it up, where you're like, okay, there's multiple maps that kind of have that dam aesthetic and vibe to it, and then multiple maps that have what's the launch site one with the giant tower in
Spaceport.
it? Spaceport. Yeah, that one is crazy. The size of those maps, the distance at which you can snipe from is insane. It's very battlefieldy in that sense, where you're like, dang, I think I just dropped somebody at 900 meters away.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for Embark. I think they have another hit on their hands, which is crazy. They're a brand new studio. They're taking risks. They're doing interesting stuff that is similar to other games, but it's got their own unique spin on it. And they're killing it, man. They're knocking it out of the park. And they're also showing that the Unreal Engine 5 is pretty damn capable in their hands. Like, they know what they're doing. The performance was amazing. Like, I heard that from a lot of friends too who are on like lower spec systems, and were like, dude, I'm getting like 60 FPS on like high settings right now. Like, I never can set my game to like high settings. Yeah. So I had no performance issues the whole time. Like maybe once or twice a little bit of a shader stutter. Yeah, that was about it.
Yeah.
No crashes. Like, it was solid, man.
Yeah. Game feels ready for release, at least in terms of that respect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when this thing's gonna launch. Like, it could be in a month. It could be, tomorrow. I hope they got a lot planned, but like legitimately, the game feels really, really good.
Yeah. I think if they look in and balance out a little bit of that loot pacing, because that was one of my observations too, maybe take a crack at the in-between round UI a little bit. I don't like it that much. And add a couple more maps, and like they could easily drop it to rave reviews. I think people would be very much happy to play it in its current state.
Agreed.
That said, we don't really know what the end game is. So we've been playing it. You played it probably a bit more than I did, and I imagine you didn't quite get to like all the end game content, but that is a question. We don't know how much longer that gameplay will last before we're like, I think I've done everything and I've got.
Yeah, that's my worry. Is like, okay, like I got everything now. Like, now what? Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they're thinking about now. So like, all right, we got a great formula. Just throw more content in there to make sure that people have got like 100 hours of gameplay before they burn out or whatever.
Right. And then we'll start a new season, and then they'll do it all over again.
Yeah. And think about how much fun you could make things with seasons, where like, what if they rotated in loot for seasons where you're like, yeah, like these guns aren't going to be available, or these gadgets, or this map selection is rotating out, or whatever. Like, you could do some weird stuff, or change the properties, like maybe certain enemy AI spawn that didn't spawn before, but now you don't see the certain types. I don't know. They could do all kinds of fun, crazy stuff. And I also noticed, like, you notice how it switches up and does like night maps, or like it has modifiers kind of on the maps where you're like, higher chance of this occurring on this map. I thought that was kind of cool how they already had those mechanics built in, and you're like, yeah, this is really smart. This is a really good way to get a lot more variety out of the same content that you already built.
Agreed.
Just smart all around. I'm excited for it, and I couldn't give a bigger recommendation to a new game. And I'd say to people out there who I think I would be one of these people if I hadn't played the game, is like, not another extraction shooter, you know.
Yep. Yep.
There's a lot of people out there, and I have not sunk a decent amount of time into any single extraction shooter. Like, I've played a decent amount of Hunt, but it's been very sporadically and only when there's like a group of friends playing it, and then I'll hop in. But none of them have gotten me really wanting to return to it. Especially none have made me want to play solo, because it's very punishing. And Ark has made me want to come back solo. It's made me want to play with friends. I'm thinking about playing it when I'm not playing it. I'm like, dang. And that's coming from somebody who's not really a huge fan of extraction shooters. So they cracked the nut, or they figured it out. They did something.
Yep. I can't wait. Keep your eyes on it. Truly.
Yeah.
If you don't have it in radar, I'd put it on it.
Well, in terms of release dates, Ark Raiders is supposed to drop this year. You know what isn't dropping this year, Matt?
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Which is probably great news for Ark Raiders and any other title dropping this year, because they're like, oh.
I can only imagine we're going to get a lot of games announcements, and then like, hey, you know that game that we were working on? Yeah, it's coming out in a couple months now.
Yeah, they're going to rush.
Waiting for Grand Theft Auto to be like, all right, when is it launching? When can we launch our game?
Yeah, GTA 6 is going to be such a like nuclear bomb of a game launch. It's just going to obliterate anything that launches within proximity to it. So
yeah,
any publisher is terrified of launching around GTA 6. I think it's good that they gave a specific date for it, right? It was like May or something like that in 2026.
Something like that, yeah. I think it was basically a year from now.
Yeah. It's good of them to give a specific date, because, I mean, honestly, like, a publisher could go under if they launch too close to GTA 6 and they're like, well, we didn't get any sales because literally everybody spent their money on Grand Theft Auto 6, which, as we all know, is going to cost $150. Right, Matt?
I don't think it's going to cost $150. I expect $80, though, for sure.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those quadruple A games, right?
Well, I'm assuming they don't want to make it too expensive. If it anything, 90, but they want people to get in so that they get into the multiplayer, so that they buy their microtransactions. Like, at the end of the day, that's where they make their real money, right? That's how they like legitimately made billions. It wasn't off the original sales. I mean, it was, but their billions of dollars that they milked for Grand Theft Auto came all from microtransactions.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto Online is like a Fortnite in terms of its revenue generation. It's just sort of this, oh yeah, you didn't know we make so much money off of like all the little MTX going on in our online component, which almost initially felt like a little bit of an afterthought or an experiment, and then it like turned into this mega thing. But
yeah,
I guess so was Fortnite to an extent. You remember the original version of Fortnite? It was like a
of course
base building zombie thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that even still available to play?
I think you can play it, but I don't think it gets any updates.
Yeah. They're just leave it around and be like, here's where it all began.
Yeah. I could be wrong, though, but yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, talk a little bit about the future and all this stuff. And I don't know how much I agree with his strategy on Fortnite. He was talking about trying to create a universal kind of like cosmetic or MTX system that other games could like patch into. So you're like, if I bought a cool skin in Fortnite, it could like translate over to this and that. I'm like, I don't know how you would do any of that. It sounds way too complicated and weird. But
well, I mean, you would have to use the same graphical style as Fortnite, and then I'm assuming they would start taking a cut of that, right? Like if you're basically using their own intellectual property at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would all work, but that was the whole thing with NFTs, right? And
yeah.
now the NFT craze went down a lot. I think it's all basically dead at this point.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, you buy our microtransaction, you can use it in every game that you play. It's like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, no, that would require so much coordination between all these devs. There's no shot that's gonna happen.
I could see it being done if you said, okay, like, you can opt in a very small percentage of your cosmetics to this universal system where you go, okay, like our leopard print jacket or whatever is going to make it into Fortnite and Call of Duty and, Destiny or whatever game.
Yeah, but
is
each
like
of those
signing.
have a different graphical
Yeah.
style, right?
So you
Like, you can't
basically
just-
have to like update it for each game. So then like the devs that it would be so complicated.
It
You'd
would
have
be
to
so-
opt
yeah.
in. He said it and I was like, I don't understand how that works at all.
Which is why basically your game would look just like Fortnite if you wanted to have Fortnite cosmetics, if you wanted to transfer. Like, the style would have to be literally identical because you wouldn't be able to constantly be making this. It would just be so overwhelming. There's no shot.
Yeah. Everybody, and they're kind of praising meta and stuff a little bit. And I was like, man, like meta is so stupid. Like the metaverse or whatever, right? Like all that dumb, like
I haven't touched any of that.
Yeah, me either, because it's if you're a gamer, you're like, yeah, they're hyping up all this stuff that we've been doing in video games forever and acting like it's brand new. So yeah, I don't know. I get a little eye rolly when CEOs start talking about their big all-inclusive metaverses and worlds that's gonna like cater to everybody, and you're like, okay, yeah. You guys are gonna lose a lot of money pursuing this pipe dream, but it is what it is. Did you finish Oblivion Remastered?
No, hell no.
How many hours is it?
Oh, it's a lot. I basically I only just started touching the main story, and then I swapped on over to just doing the guild quests and stuff. So I finished off the Thieves Guild's quest. And then
Peaced
there's
out.
so many others. There's so many others. So,
yeah. And it is under the hood. It's still a dated game. So you're still dealing with all the kind of older mechanics and stuff with a very pretty graphics overall. But speaking of remasters, reloaded versions, Gears of War is getting a reloaded version. So I think it's the original, whichever game came out in 2006. That might be the OG.
Okay.
Is getting remastered on Unreal Engine 5, and it looks good, man.
They just announced that.
Yeah, maybe today. I'm not sure.
Oh, no wonder I didn't hear about it.
Anyway, in terms of like games that I think fit the right mold for a remaster, Gears of War fits that perfectly, in a sense, in that it's like, it's really just a game about epic cinematics, right? You just sort of run through it and all these crazy set pieces happen during combat, and then you go, oh, that was cool, so doing that in UE5 could be really dope, and they had a couple of teaser images of it when they showed it off. So
it does look good. I'm looking at it now.
Right?
Yeah.
You think, how many more remasters do you think we're going to start seeing? Because we saw Oblivion, which was done on the UE5 engine for the visuals, or like with their old engine running in the background somehow. Gears of War being done in UE5. You think we're about to get like a whole ton of UE5 remasters that are just looking like
probably
epic with all the lights and beautiful?
Why take a risk on new games when old games are good?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the amount of money that Oblivion just raked in, Bethesda's like, what else can we remaster?
We're definitely going to be getting 100% going to be getting more Bethesda titles that are going to be remastered. Yeah. Guaranteed we're getting the Skyrim 2.0, like 100%. I'd be so surprised if we did not, because it does look a bit outdated by modern standards now.
Yeah. What would be, you have any top picks for remasters? Like any games that you would love to see remastered?
Not really.
Yeah.
Dark Age of Camelot. I love me my Dark Age of Camelot.
I know.
But I'm not like chomping at the bit for remasters. Like I'll play them, but I'm not. Yeah. I want new games more than I want old games.
It's fair. It's hard to it's just because old games are so reliant on the mechanics, right? So it's like if you remake a movie, it's, all the stories have been told. You're not relying on ancient storytelling or something like that. Mm-hmm. But with a game, you're like, if you remaster it and you're trying to be authentic, you're like, these mechanics are really old. Like they were the first of its time, so it was a good game, but now everybody's copied it like 10 times over and improved upon it. So yeah, harder to remaster. I can't think of too many games I'd want to remaster. I would like to see. I have a soft spot in my heart for Bungie's Myth games, which were like
I never played those. This
sort
is
of
ancient times.
It's a fantasy RTS, but without any of the economy side of it. So all you're doing is controlling units.
Just micro.
And it's pretty good. It's pretty fun. They had good multiplayer. They had a really good single player. The multiplayer was dope. You're like, had your archers and your knights in front of them, and you had to like really set up your lines perfectly, and they would try and charge you and break your lines and all this stuff. And I was like, not a lot of games have tried RTS without the economy side of it. I mean, some have, but like this was a pretty unique take on it. So I'd love to see that come back in a way. I don't know. I never like doing the economy side of the RTS stuff, or it's like I like to either do the economy or
the other. Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, I don't like to mix it up as much, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I think I like the macro more. I like just building a giant army and just throwing it at the enemy.
Yeah. I like games where you can just queue up your army construction and be like, go that way, and then you just work on the base it the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah, I guess my army's making good progress over there. Great.
Agreed.
How excited are you for Borderlands being moved up to September 12th, baby?
I saw gameplay for it, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I mean, I'm still skeptical because Borderlands, I actually liked Tiny Tina's Wonderland. That was their more recent one. That was kind of like a spin-off. I thought that was pretty decent. And then they showed off like the movement mechanics for this one, and they look solid. Like you're going to be able to grapple hook. You're going to be able to like traversal around. You're going to be able to like grab grenades or like grapple objects in the world and then throw them at the enemy and then use all of your other abilities and gadgets and guns and stuff like that. It looked okay. Like it actually looked like a solid title that unfortunately seemed like it was running at a solid 60 FPS, maybe a little bit less than that. At least the trailer that I saw didn't seem as smooth as I would have liked, but that could have just been, numerous things.
So do you think, so everybody's speculating that 2K moved up Borderlands and pushed back GTA because they think GTA is going to basically obliterate Borderlands' chances of making any money. Because if it comes out first, nobody's going to buy Borderlands.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's generally the sentiment felt by the community as well. But I was just curious. I'm like, do you think they actually needed that extra time on GTA? Or are they just like, we've sunk hundreds of millions of dollars into both of these projects. Like, we're not going to.
Oh, no, I think they need more time on GTA for sure.
Oh, they do.
I think that they're moving things around. Yeah. No, I definitely think that they need more time. There was a interview that some journalists were doing with like insiders, and they said that, this Grand Theft Auto was not going to be, there was going to be delay no matter what. There was no shot that this was going to come out on that for their original release date.
Yeah. I mean, the trailers that they show, you're just like, the it's so insane, and the scope of it at this fidelity is just like, it's nothing's going to come close to achieving that,
Still upset that it's not coming out on PC day one. I don't know what this nonsense is.
That is really silly, especially if they're going to delay it that much. You're like, just do it on PC, you big babies. Like, how hard is that to do? You're developing it on a PC,
Double dipping.
Well, I mean, I forgot what game came out recently. It was like the Monster Hunter game where they talked about how launching on all platforms with crossplay is like massive. And you're like, okay.
It was Monster Hunter.
Yeah. And how that's becoming a much bigger trend. They're like, if a AAA dev can afford that bandwidth to develop on all the platforms simultaneously, then they absolutely should. And if any company has the bandwidth to do that, you would expect it to be Rockstar. I mean, they have kind of an unlimited budget.
They don't really have an excuse at this point. Like them not having it launch at the same time it just makes me think that they're trying to double dip, or who knows.
But that's what I'm saying is like, it seems like the better strategy to just do a simultaneous launch now.
You would think so.
But I don't know.
But maybe they want to have two big hypes, like, console launch, and then 6 months to a year later, hey, PC, and everyone's now back
Yeah.
playing again. I don't know.
Even Sony's caught up to the trend where they're like, oh my gosh, it's so much better to launch stuff on PC also. Look at all
There's
this.
this huge market of PC gamers that actually will buy our game and they'll play it and they'll love it and yeah. Crazy how that works.
Devs are gonna have to start hitting those minimum specs pretty well for PC market because nobody's gonna be able to afford any hardware.
That's true. It's very, very true.
Those prices, man. Yeah, I mean, video card prices haven't been normal for like a year, 2 years. Like it's been a while since they just
it normalized and now it's getting worse again.
Yeah.
Because there was the whole shortage during COVID, and then it kind of got a little better, and now it's
yeah, and like you got that new CPU, but like that was probably hard to find, right? Like
it's very hard to find. Yeah, I had it was very hard to get.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about. Where like I'm kind of envious of console gamers because I'm not saying it's always easy to find a console because there's definitely been shortages at times, but you only have to get like one thing for the most part. Mm-hmm. You're like console and the controller, and you can download the games, so you're good to go. But yeah, PC's like, all right, well, I want this processor and this video card, and I could use some new RAM and the sweet hard drive, and you're just like, oh yeah, like the market is like crazy right now. People are just buying and scalping and inflating the prices, man.
Yep.
Good times. Well, the Switch 2, huge surprise. All the pre-orders sold out for it.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise at their inflated prices, which are now seeming not so inflated given the markups by both Microsoft.
I don't think they were they inflated?
Well,
you're talking about like the original price?
Yeah,
they didn't
original.
Increase the price because of tariffs. They did it for their peripheral stuff. I think probably to compensate.
Yeah. But people were saying the price was too high based on like what it was or whatever.
Yeah. That I agree with. Yeah.
Yeah. What I think people forget though is the amount of R&D that goes into making small form factor hardware. Cause it's like, what does the Steam Deck run at? It's like $600 or $700 for a Steam Deck, I think.
No, the more expensive. Yeah. But no, not the least expensive. Least expensive is about the same as the Switch 2. Okay.
But I think I remember reading an article about how Valve was like, yeah, we got this priced in, like, you will never be able to get hardware of this quality and this form factor at this price. Like we did everything possible to like get it as cheap as possible, but is at this quality. So I think there is a lot that goes into that. And I've heard for a long time that most consoles are sold at a loss just because they make all their money on the game.
The games. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, not happy about the price increase, but with the Switch being $450 and then Xboxes and PlayStations that are now kind of several years old, the hardware. When did yeah, and they're going up $100 and you're like, oh, but it's the same hardware from.
Yeah, nothing's changing other than just the price.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
Yeah. Before we wrap up here, have you heard of the game Clair Obscur Expedition 33?
Yeah, we talked about it last podcast.
Did we?
A little bit.
Did we actually talk about it?
You hadn't played it though.
Okay.
Did you play it?
Because I have played it now.
Yeah. What did you think?
I did not beat it, but I played it. It is incredible.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing.
People are saying game of the year. Wait, Matt, are you saying game of the year?
I can see why people are saying it's game of the year.
But not you.
But I will not say yet. Because I only finished Act 1. Okay. And boy, what an Act 1 it was. And I hear it gets even more crazy after Act 1. So yeah, it's a crazy world. It's who would have thought parrying and dodging in a turn-based game would mean so much, but it makes things so much more engaging because it's basically like a Souls boss where you're just like parry. Oh, it's my turn now. Bazinga, right? Like there's something.
I like that. Like it's funny because it seems obvious now, like almost where you're like, oh yeah, how come people didn't think about that before? Where you just take turns with the type of moves that you're doing. You're like, I'm going to do my defensive moves now, and now it's my turn to do the attacks. So now I'm going to do my attack moves, and it's like, it's a cool concept. It's like, oh yeah, I guess it does make sense. But for whatever reason, for like decades, it's just been like, nope, now it's their turn to just lob undefended attacks at you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, really.
Yeah.
It's wild. The thing is that it's so integral to the game, though, where if you miss a parry or you don't dodge or what have you, if you're playing the hard difficulty, you will just get one-shotted. There are some bosses, if you're like under-leveled, they will just one-shot you. But if you're good enough, you can beat these bosses that are higher level than you because you're just parrying literally everything and then sending it back. It's
so you went in there
cool.
with your Souls-like skills and just showed them what's up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. You can do that. Yep.
Cool. And so I mean, like, what makes it so good? I like it. I hear the innovative turn-based stuff is cool, but beyond that,
I think is the most addicting part.
Okay.
So tons of build crafting. Every single character has a different unique play style. Where it's not like this is just the warrior, this is the mage, this is the like they've got their play style, but then they've got like a unique mechanic on top of that, where one of them switches between stances. And so depending on your stance, another spell or ability that you use will then either benefit from that stance or what have you, right? Like so you can kind of like weave your stances into other ones. There's a mage where they create stains where it basically builds up another kind of energy bar, and then you can use those stains, depending on what they are, to then cast another spell, which will become more powerful, right?
Yeah.
Every single character has one of like their own
That's
unique
super cool.
mechanic.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you get items called pictos that you can use that will then expand and allow you to build in certain ways. You can then level up the picto so that anyone in your team can then also use those picto upgrades to then make like a giant build. So you have like 10 different items on your character that all do certain things. Like when you dodge, you get more AP, or if you parry, you get 2 AP, which is your action points, which allows you to spend on skills, but you'll take 50% more damage, right? Like that's the trade-off for it, right? And so you can there's tons of build crafting, and I'm only in Act 1, right? Like I can only imagine how much more there's going to be in Act 2 and Act 3.
That's awesome.
So build crafting, just the mechanics are really fun with the parry and dodging. The music is incredible. The music is hands down some of the best music. It may win awards. That's what people are saying. I'm not saying it.
You're not saying
there could be
there
could be awards being given to the soundtrack. Voice acting is fantastic. It has an all-star cast. It's got Charlie Cox, who plays the Daredevil. He's the Gustav. He's the main character. You've got Andy Serkis, who plays like Gollum in basically any, he's everywhere now. He's huge.
Andy Serkis. I thought this was like this little dev team that made a huge team.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little dev team. Their core, I think, was like 30.
Yeah.
It kind of bugs me when they say like, oh, only 30 people made this. I'm like, 30 people maybe been the core unit, but they had voice actors, they had probably artists come in. So like, 30 made it, but but yes, it was small. So there's the voice acting is phenomenal. The story is really engaging and weird. Do you know anything about the story?
No, hints of it, but not really.
So basically this is a world where each year it counts down. There's this paintress. This is the very beginning of the game, so it's a little spoilery, but very mild spoilers. They count down, and if you're 35 and they count down to 35, you get Thanos snapped out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've been sending out these expeditions to try to figure out like if they can kill this paintress to try and stop this from happening, because it's been going on for a long time. And it's now Expedition 33, which is why the game is named that. And you're trying to stop and figure out what in the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And let's just say it gets crazy.
Cool.
So yeah, it's very good. It's a very good game.
Sick. I like it. Sounds like a wild story, a fun story too. And I like anything that can get philosophical, even if it is like fantasy based or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Good ideas in there, and I know you agree with the idea of, taking people out once they hit a certain age so that we can stabilize the economy and stuff.
That is not what I said.
It's a good idea. I want to see more games playing with these horrible dystopian nightmare concepts. Black Mirror premises for games, man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing a lot of talk about the latest season of Black Mirror. I stopped watching it like in season 2 or something, but it just kept getting me too down, where you're like, oh God, this is our future. I need to turn this off. I'm too depressed about things. But I've been hearing a lot of stuff about the latest season because I guess there's some good episodes in there. I'm like, oh God, do I want to jump back into that or...
Not me.
Yeah, I'm just going to watch happy-go-lucky shows. Speaking of which, I tried to watch a movie called The Last Unicorn with my daughter because I was going to put something on and she saw a unicorn thumbnail because my TV knows what she likes. Of
course.
And it was The Last Unicorn, I think a 1970s anime.
1982, I looked it up.
Okay, 1982. Early 80s anime. I've always heard about it because I knew the studio that did it went on to, a lot of their members went on to form Studio Ghibli. And so that's where a lot of that animation talent came from, was from the people that worked on The Last Unicorn. So I was like, that's how I knew about it. We started watching it and man, early 80s anime is creepy. This one was creepy. It's got some real voice acting talent in it. It's actually pretty impressive. Like Jeff Bridges is like a voice actor in it and a bunch of other, I think Angela Lansbury and like other people. So you're like, dang, they have a lot of talent here, but yeah, it's just old anime. It's tough to watch sometimes. And my daughter got creeped out. Yeah.
I got creeped out.
On. Yeah,
that damn bull at the end, like hell no.
Yeah,
the anxiety. I think that maybe that's why I get afraid of. Like I have like nightmares when I'm being chased. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, it kind of reminds me of, and it's not quite on the same creep level, but like Dark Crystal, that puppet movie. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't seen that.
Do you know what Dark Crystal is?
I think so. Yeah.
I think Jim Henson did like a lot of the puppeteering for it and stuff, but it's just like, it's sort of aimed at like, I guess a kid's audience because it's sort of fantasy sci-fi premise, but it is so creepy. Like I remember watching it as a kid and just being like, this is the scariest, most awful movie ever. Like
it's really funny how some like our early forms of media and movies, like they didn't really know what was like for kids. They're like, yeah, it's just aimed at kids. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And hell no.
I know. I look back on like, cause now I'm thinking about what my kids can watch and like, oh, I watched this when I was this age. And then I look it up. I'm like, dear God, I shouldn't have watched this. This is terrifying. Or, I'm like, I think I saw Terminator 2 when I was like 8 or 7 or something. I was like, yeah, maybe it's a little young.
Maybe a little young, yeah.
Yeah, to see a liquid metal person like impale somebody through their eye socket. Maybe a little bit on the young side.
Yeah.
Had a profound effect on me. Now I just like robots and the apocalypse. Which is why I like Arc Raiders so much. It's kind of Arc Raiders is like Terminator meets The Running Man or something. It's like this bizarre aesthetic, but I love it.
Same.
Yeah. I finished the current season of Slow Horses.
Nice.
Loved it. Really good. Really fun. The show's not really losing its steam. I think it's just fun. It's
solid.
You can just do a lot with like international espionage, You're like, you're not going to run out of stories. There's tons of stuff, I
mean, that's why, cop shows and investigative shows are as popular as they are because you just can't really run out of content.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there anything you've been reading or watching lately?
I finally finished off Lost Metal, which is the 4th book of the second Mistborn series, which I don't know why I didn't finish that all those years ago. I basically read the entire series again because like I need to get caught up. And
so wait, you gave up on your mega novel? You haven't?
No, I haven't given up on it. No.
You just
I'm gonna go back. That's probably the next one I just needed a break from it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I basically read all 4 of those books and a quick read, very fun, very very fun, and it was an emotional ending. I'll just say that. I won't say what kind of emotion, but it was very emotional.
Yeah.
It was Brandon Sanderson's always really good with his endings, and he did it again.
Oh, so that was a Sanderson book.
Yeah.
So that's a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Mistborn.
Mistborn. Okay.
It's about people being able to use, or this is going to sound so stupid when you say it out loud. They basically can consume metal, and they can then burn the metal in their bodies to be able to have an effect, and that's basically the fuel for their magic. So if you burn like steel, you can push upon metal. I don't know.
Then you got to eat the metal. You're just eating rebar.
They basically, well, it's like flakes, right? So you like have like a vial and you put it, and you just like drink it.
Okay.
Right. So it's not like they're chomping on iron or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a weird premise.
Yes. But like the world is set up in a way where you just like, oh yeah, that's just how things work in this world, in this universe. So why not?
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad you finished that one. Natalie's starting the third book in the way of what's that Sanderson's big series, the
Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, she's into the third book now.
Nice.
So you better get started on that fourth book, otherwise I'm gonna have to be telling you about what happens. I'm like, oh, and then this and then that. There's too many characters. I can't follow those things.
There's a lot of characters. It's an epic fantasy for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I get lost with Lord of the Rings sometimes. I'm like, who and what? It needs to...
Who's this Pippin man? Who's Frodo?
Yeah, this fellowship is far too big. I need 3 characters max, okay? It's too many people.
Sam and Frodo, that's all I got.
Yeah. Gosh, you know what I miss? I miss good Lord of the Rings games. When the movies came out, like all the video game studios were going crazy.
They just sort of stopped, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not ready for them to stop. I want more good Lord of the Rings games. There was like, I think Sony did a game for each of the movies that was like a kind of like an action adventure game.
Yep.
And those were freaking cool. You could play like the Helm's Deep, and like it was all solid gameplay and like cool set pieces and visuals. And I'm like, reboot those one. Oh, that's what I want remastered, man. I changed my mind. Okay.
There we are.
That's my top pick. Is whatever the Lord of the Rings game on like the PlayStation 2 was or something. Back in the day where you could be.
I think it was PS2 as well.
Yeah. But it was good. People remember it because you're like, yeah, I was at Helm's Deep and I was fighting orcs and stuff. It was sick. I want those. I want those remastered.
There were the like Shadow of Mordor games but those were, like they didn't follow the Fellowship at all.
Yeah, I also got bored of those ones. Like I remember playing it and trying to get through it, and after you like killed a bunch of different like unique orcs and stuff, you're just sort of like, okay, so it's just gonna kind of keep doing the same thing. It turned into like a Far Cry game after a while. Where you're like, okay, so I'm just gonna sort of just keep going to different towns and cities and doing the thing. Cool. Got it. I think I will clock out of that game.
Fair enough.
You know what I liked is the RTS games. Did you ever play those ones?
No, I did not.
Battle for Middle-earth, maybe? That might have been.
Sounds right.
Those ones were cool because you could choose your faction, right? You could be Mordor. I don't know if you could be Mordor or in Isengard, but I know you could be Mordor. You could be Rohan.
That's pretty cool.
Rohan.
Why aren't they making these games? God damn it. I'd play that now.
Dude, Middle-earth was sick. You could call in like Ents as an ability, like a timed ability, and they would come in and fight for you. And like Rohan had cavalry, and like the cavalry would work like real cavalry, where if you caught orcs in like a field, you could literally just trample them down. Like you didn't have to like sit there and have them exchange blows. You're like, no, if your cavalry's moving fast, you can just trample your opponent. And I was like, oh, it was sick.
Pretty sick.
It was really cool. I miss all those games. Didn't they had a Lord of the Rings Online, right? Like an MMO.
Yes, there was.
Was that any good?
I never played it.
Okay.
No. A lot of these games were back when I was a child and I didn't have any money. So I was kind of having to be more selective with what games I could play, unfortunately.
Yeah, back in the day when we had to think about the cost of video games. Now it's our profession.
Well, yeah, but it was also because I was a kid, so I didn't, I didn't have money. Like I just didn't have anything. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Oh man. Well, you want to wrap up the old Potteroonie there?
Sounds good.
What are you playing tonight, Matt? What's on the
I think I'm
docket?
gonna play some more. I'm gonna get back into the Clair Obscur Expedition
Cool.
33 because I took a break from it because of our Arc Raiders.
Yeah, well, I look forward to hearing your whether or not it is or isn't a Game of the Year contender once you're finished with it.
Good.
Well, everybody, thank you for dropping by the Level With Me podcast. If you guys want to check out our Patreon in the video description, you can watch us live when we record the podcast on Mondays and help out the old podcast and give Matt some money so he can spend that money and time on coming up with really important advice for you every week, which is what he does with that.
Yeah, so my really important advice this week is, first of all, take care of yourself, but also take care of your party and make sure to parry as often as possible. Parry comes with the benefit if you parry every single attack in Expedition 33, it does extra damage at the end to the enemy. So it's riskier than dodging, but you do get that payoff.
Have you ever parried in real life, Matt?
Oh yeah, all the time because I'm getting into fist fights all the time. What do you mean parrying? What am I parrying?
I'm just saying, have you ever had you just told people to parry, as your life advice, and I'm saying, have you ever parried? Have you parried once?
I think I've parried once. Yeah, I've parried. When you're a kid and you got like those like foam swords, Yeah, I've parried.
Did you ever do fencing in like high school or anything?
Hell no.
Well, I mean, like. We did it as part of like a PE thing where they bring in
cool. No,
like fencing.
I'm surprised they would allow that.
Well, you put on a helmet and they have things
I know,
on the
but
ends.
Still, it's they're basically pointy objects.
Actually,
cool.
the pointiness wasn't the issue. The issue was the fact that kids were just whipping the crap out of each other,
whacking each other.
Yeah, because we're like not classically trained in fencing. You're like, hey, not. Mike, check this out. Whoosh, and it's just like, oh, you broke my skin, dude.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right. I don't think it lasted too much. It was like a trial, it's a fencing trial.
Yeah, it reminds me, there's a lot of games, I feel like, and things back in the day that maybe weren't as well thought out. Remember a kid, you ever play Red Rover? Remember what Red Rover was? Red Rover, send Matt on over. And then you have to run over their side. And they're all grabbing each other's hands. You have to break through their hands to go through. Kid got clotheslined and slammed his head in the back of the gym floor and got a concussion. And they're like, no. We shouldn't be having kids trying to like break through arms and stuff. This was stupid.
Or maybe not do it on like a hard wooden floor, do it on a soccer field or something,
Yeah.
If someone gets clotheslined, it's going to suck, but like, less awful. Yeah, that is fun. All right, everybody. Thanks for dropping by the podcast. We appreciate y'all very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.